You know, most grocery stores sell flavorless imposter tomatoes, and it's crazy because homegrown tomatoes are so incredibly delicious. So we'd rather grow as many as we can at home during the season, and then we try to preserve some if we can for the winter. But tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants are all super frost sensitive. So when you're thinking about when to plant them and what the best timing is, the first thing you want to consider is your average last frost date. We're in Ogden, Utah, and our average last frost date is May 1st. And then you want to plant maybe 1 to 2 weeks after that if you aren't going to cover the plants and protect them from the cold. But another thing to consider is that when you're thinking about your timing is early establishment and growth really depends just as much on soil temperature as it does on air temperature. So tomatoes, for example, if the weather's in the 50s and not freezing, they won't die necessarily, but they really won't start to grow and take off until the soil temperature is up, around into the 60s. So long story short, in our opinion, it's totally worth the extra effort to create a warmer environment and extend the season as much as we can. So last year we did a little home trial where we experimented with different planting dates and different season extension techniques. And we've got some shots from different times in the season. And then it shows what we learned and then makes some recommendations for planting dates when you're planting under cover. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of experimenting with just how early we can put in our tomato transplants in this low tunnel. Today's April 7th. It's a beautiful day. It's like mid 60s, and we haven't planted anything in there yet, but we are gonna start planting today. It did get up to like 120 in this tunnel, so it really generates a lot of heat, but it doesn't hold a lot of heat at night. And what I noticed in the forecast, it's gonna get down to maybe 30 in the next week or so. So what we're going to do is kind of use that as an opportunity to experiment because I got a couple extra starts. So we put these wall of water in here because the tunnel loses a lot of heat during the day or in the middle of the night. So it's really not going to be much warmer in there. So we're going to plant some in the wall of water and some not in the wall of water. And then the other experiment we're going to do is all of these seeds were started February 28th, and then some of them I potted into bigger pots on March 17th, or excuse me, March 27th. So that was 11 days ago, okay? So these that are in the bigger pots we're going to hold on to for another week and a half, maybe 2 weeks in our greenhouse. And then plant them after. But these, to avoid, since they're duplicates, and to avoid having to pot them on, we're gonna go ahead and plant them now and see how they fare even in the colder weather. Some will be in the wall of water. We've got 4 wall of water in here, and then we'll do 2 or 3 not in the wall of water also, and we'll see kind of what works well, and then we'll check in when we plant these in, compare the growth there, and we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so it's April 18th now, and we did get that frosty weather we were talking about last week. Got down to 30 or below like 3 times, and one of the tomatoes didn't make it. So it's kind of an interesting result. This one died. It's like totally gone, right? And this one that was uncovered is doing okay. It's not super healthy, but it's hanging in there just fine. But the ones, all 4 of them in the wall of water look really good if we want to take a peek in there. That one's looking pretty good. This one maybe even a little bigger already. So if you can see the wall of water ones, they almost look as good as these transplants. So one thing that's interesting about when those died, this one, you'll notice is kind of towards the end of the bed here, and this one is kind of in the middle, so it might have stayed a little bit warmer in the middle with the wall of water around it too. And then the other thing I noticed, this one actually made it through the first 2 frosty nights when it was a sunny day beforehand, but because of the day it died, it must not have heated up much in here because it was rainy and cloudy most of the day. So Now these transplants, we're gonna put them in, especially here, and then some others to kind of compare on the timing of it. But they're a little bit bigger than is ideal for us. They're 7 weeks in a day now, and they're starting to outgrow their pots, and they're already starting to put flowers on. And I like to plant them. The best results for tomatoes is usually between 5 and 6 weeks old, so when they're not quite this tall and big. I think things are looking pretty good, and we're going to continue the experiment and compare. So it's May 12th today. We thought we'd do a real quick update on our trials for how early you can plant tomatoes. It's a couple days after Mother's Day, and now is the traditional safe time to plant tomatoes along the Wasatch Front in Utah. And it's really a great time to plant tomatoes. When we plant them, we like them pretty small, kind of in this range. This one's about 5 weeks old, and this one's a little bit older. But as you can see, we really got a decent head start with these plants that we planted in April. So just comparing, this is one that we planted early April 6th, I think, in a wall of water. And here is the spot where one of them died in that mid-April frost. But we planted a little bit later, and it's a little bit behind that one, but they're both looking really good. And then here, these are looking good, and one of these ones we planted earlier is already starting to set fruit, so we thought we'd just give you a shot of that real quick. And so what we'll do is it looks like we're getting fruit set on all of these, so when we'll do another update. So all in all with our experiments, I think what we would recommend is if you do have a low tunnel, you can plant about 3 weeks earlier than you normally would. That ended up being April 18th here along the Wasatch Front in Utah, which was 3 weeks before Mother's Day, which is usually the traditional time when people plant. If you do have a wall in water, you could maybe push that a little farther, 4 to 5 weeks early. But with those 3 weeks, I think we're gonna get a lot more tomatoes. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching Foodscaping Utah, and grow your own.